Hey guys, I hope the lighting and everything is okay. I'm not wearing my glasses, so that's how I'm gonna start this video. And also, ignore my hands. I haven't fake tanned in a year and I forgot that you have to like scrub the dry skin off any piece of yourself or you're gonna end up patchy and orange. So, that's what I am. I also did this really stupid thing. Some of you don't care about my life, and that's okay. I also did this really stupid thing. I wear an Oura ring when I go to sleep, and I decided to put it on. And now this is what I look like. Subscribe to like for engagement. Let's get into it. So we're talking about Rosanna Pansino and Colleen Ballinger. I didn't think I'd talk about them together, but this is all kind of linked together. So there are two separate situations. I'm gonna have to kind of recap both, but you guys know what's going on. With Colleen Ballinger, she was called out by a multitude of people. It was fans, it was people that she used to have in group chats that were underage, that she would talk to inappropriately. There was Adam McIntyre, who's obviously a YouTube channel and was probably the biggest voice when it came to calling out Colleen Ballinger. It was her kind of inappropriate behavior in live shows, inappropriate behavior in group chats, in like group calls that she would have with her fans. Her brother was also called out recently, which I didn't realize there was a whole kind of extra can of worms with Trent, her brother. And essentially the whole family's been staying kind of silent. If you guys don't know, Colleen Ballinger's whole family is essentially on YouTube and they all kind of have like a presence. And he's also had a presence that apparently he was using to inappropriately talk to people. He's been getting called out for mainly in their comment section, and they have addressed it in a comment, and it's on the Ballinger family channel. It says, I absolutely support anyone with incriminating info to bring it to the authorities. There is personal nuance as to his level of developmental delay, which is always kept private, but it's much more than is known publicly, and I feel awful for sharing even that. But he's not someone that I've had contact with or will have my kids contact with since learning about his behavior several months ago. We also discussed with the kids at their varying levels of understanding and asked if they ever experienced similar with him, which they had not. So yes, I think anyone with evidence of any crimes should of course bring it to the authorities and be investigated appropriately. I personally do not have that evidence, but from what has been shared, I can still use an abundance of personal caution with my kids and make choices accordingly. I'm sad for Ollie, who has always been a sweet, genuine person who shouldn't have had that emotional burden at that age. So they kind of addressed that after being called out for a while. And there's definitely a lot of people around Colleen who are either being also called out or being asked to make statements, or there are then like the outside circle of people that have ever hung out with Colleen or hung out with the family who are also being asked like, where do you stand on this? Like for example, recently, I think it was Manny and Laura Lee on their full coverage podcast. They did a whole episode when this whole Colleen drama came out, being like, you know, oh, this is all a bit overblown, like she's only ever been nice to me, blah blah blah, and then they immediately took the podcast down, didn't address it. There's also this other thing where I do want to make a video talking about how many people, mainly beauty influencers, dare I add, have trashed drama channels over the years to then become drama channels. Because I'm pretty convinced that Manny Mue has had an issue with drama channels for a while. And so has Laura Lee. You know, they've both been called out during the first Dramageddon and the second Dramageddon, right? So they kind of hated drama channels. But it just seems like when their views started dwindling when it came to makeup content, that's when they started to pivot and become drama channels. Like, I'm not here to gatekeep. Anyone can post whatever content they want as long as it's not harming anyone. But there's something quite ironic about claiming that drama channels are like destroying your life and destroying your career to then have a drama podcast. And then not only have a drama podcast, but also use that drama podcast to uplift someone who has not done great things like Colleen Ballinger. And then instead of taking accountability for that, just delete the podcast and move on with your life. Like, I don't think any explanation would have been like good, because clearly that's what you think and that's your business, I guess. But just to take it down and be like, oh, like at least either stand by your opinion and keep the podcast episode up, or delete it and address it in the next episode. That's the two ways I can kind of see this going, but they just kind of deleted it. It's like they want to reap the benefits of being a drama channel, aka the views that you get from putting someone else's name in your title, without the consequences of maybe having the wrong opinion or saying something that people don't agree with. So it's definitely just like a, you know, whatever. That's another whole video. If you guys have seen any other channels who like trashed drama channels and then pivot to more drama commentary content, do put their name in the comments and I will investigate, because there are a few names on my list that I'm like, why are you doing this now? Anyway, so that was that. That's one side of the story. It's obviously very dark. I didn't cover that whole Trent situation because I understand what's going on, but I just don't know how to approach this respectfully. Two, we have obviously Colleen Ballinger and Trisha Paytas were supposed to start a channel together, and then Colleen was sending Trisha Paytas' OnlyFans content to minors, including Adam, which then obviously meant that after literally like a handful of episodes, the podcast between them fell apart. And now actually for the better, Trish has her own super successful podcast called Just Trish, which is great. And it's doing like so well. She's able to like address this whole thing on there, and by proxy I guess she talks about the people who still defend Colleen, aka Jojo Siwa, blah blah blah. Recently, the convoluted circle keeps on convoluting. Recently she had Rosanna Pansino on, who, if you guys don't know, has been friends with Colleen for a while, and they did a few collabs, like she drank Colleen's breast milk, I think. Anyway, so they did a collab before, but they haven't collabed in a while. And obviously Trish and Ro did a collab of sorts. Ro went on Just Trish, the podcast, to talk about Mr. Beast, which obviously was a separate drama. And Trish went on Ro's channel to do some like pumpkin-y type challenges. Now, obviously, Rosanna Pansino for the first time addressed Mr. Beast in Trish's podcast, which Trish did say that she didn't really realize that she was going to have like the breaking story. She didn't think it was such a massive deal, but then it became like a breaking story. Now, about that, bear with me. Ro tweeted about the Mr. Beast thing. She tweeted out personal conversations between them, which people were kind of not okay with. Then she deleted all of her tweets, took everything back, apologized to Mr. Beast, then took back the apology and said she still stands by what she said, and then deleted that. And then I think it was Keemstar that actually tweeted that he had mediated a phone call between Mr. Beast and Ro where they kind of talked everything out and they were okay with each other. So because of all of that, because of the flip-flopping, there were a lot of people that supported Rosanna from the start, and they said, you know, this Mr. Beast channel seems like a boys club. She was clearly left out because she's too irrelevant for them or not entertaining enough or whatever it was. Then there were people that from the get-go supported Mr. Beast and said he did nothing wrong. This is his production. He can choose to do it however he wants. And that's the rights that you waive when you take part in someone else's videos. Then there were people that were like, I believed Ro at the beginning, but with how much she's flip-flopping, I just don't know how much I can like trust what she's saying anymore. And in the meantime, a bunch of these people essentially started bringing up like, okay, well, you have all the energy to talk about this, so why don't you talk about this? And that, one of those things, was her friendship with Colleen Ballinger, which people have been calling her out on for a while. Just saying like, okay, so you're not okay with Mr. Beast, are you okay with Colleen Ballinger still? Like, are you going to speak out and say that you denounce everything that she has done? Which I am kind of mixed on the whole like, denounce it right now, as I feel like not everyone has to denounce everything and discuss everything. However, I think it's kind of like, I think the way Manny did it was like he outright wanted to defend Colleen and then kind of walked that back when he got shit for it. But I just feel like if you say nothing, that's a little bit better. But I just think it's good to just address stuff and just get it out in the open that you don't support bad behavior essentially. But I just don't think giving someone abuse over that is, which I'm not saying everyone gave her abuse, I'm just saying some people are definitely super aggressive with it. But I think if you're just asking just for your own like peace of mind, where do you stand on this, I think that's completely fine. So she actually finally ended up tweeting, addressing your questions about Colleen. And she said, the whole situation makes me feel sad and breaks my heart. I'm still processing my feelings. I do believe that the behavior was inappropriate, mean-spirited, and I no longer communicate with her, which is great because I know it was a little bit awkward for people that she went on Trish's podcast and Colleen was very like friendly with Trish. They opened up to each other to then kind of people not be clear about where she stands on Colleen's stuff, mainly because of how much Colleen has hurt Trish's feelings. Like I just felt like people just kind of made that link. That's why I was going through all the links because everyone's kind of linked together. I found out when everyone else did, perhaps even later. When the news broke, I was traveling out of state to finally pick up all the things my dad left for me after he passed away and help my mum go through more of his belongings. It was emotionally exhausting. I was not online much at all because I was focusing on my own healing with my family. I've not said anything publicly for a few reasons. One, I do not have any information or insight to add. I never personally witnessed that kind of behavior, wasn't aware of it, nor did I participate. My memories of our time together with family and was very wholesome. My nephew adored her son and they loved playing together. Obviously, I don't support or condone the behavior that was made public. Two, I feel that the most important thing in this situation is that the affected people's voices are heard, which I believe they are now. Three, I like to hear both sides when possible. While it's easy to jump onto the side of public opinion, I was hoping for some sort of apology or explanation at some point, which hasn't happened. So she was kind of waiting for Colleen to kind of come out and say like, here's the evidence that it didn't happen, or I'm sorry that it did happen. But obviously Colleen then did the ukulele apology, which wasn't amazing. I hope people come to understand that peer pressuring others to speak on issues before they already can be unhealthy. Please be mindful that everyone processes emotions differently and at different speeds. My timeline is not someone else's timeline. I'm learning that I tend to process things slower and that's okay. And Trish had actually responded to that and just posted a little heart, which means like, hey, I support this message, like no bad blood. Has anyone said anything interesting? I mean, people are saying that this was extremely well put together and seemed most self-explanatory. People love to vilify silence or a lack of response though. Good on you. Someone said at the end of the day, I think it's Colleen who should be pressured to speak and not people who she associated with. But I just think it's funny how you could speak out about Mr. Beast's video edits before acknowledging this. So people are on kind of two ends like, oh, it was okay that you were silent about it, but if you have all the energy to speak about Mr. Beast, you should also have the energy to address this, which is like people think more serious essentially. But yeah, a lot of people just agree with, I guess. Some people saying, oh, why did you want to hear both sides? Like it was so clear cut, but that's obviously just like, there's a lot of different opinions here. With the quote tweet, someone said, at the end of the day, what's crazy to me is that all these YouTubers and public figures can put out statements regarding the situation, but Colleen herself cannot. Yeah, I think there are just overall a lot of different opinions. Some people think that she's being a clout chaser. Some people think that her wording was really weird, like she wanted to hear both sides. Some people didn't think that she had to speak out. Some people think that she had to speak out. I just feel like nothing really that she will do now will make people happy, and that's kind of why you kind of need to stay off Twitter sometimes. It's just not a good vibe. But that's pretty much it. I think that's the whole saga now of Ro, Colleen, Trish, Mr. Beast, everyone. So that's really it. Subscribe to the bell icon for engagement. I'll see you guys in my next one. Bye guys.